We all had a desire to really flesh out the backstory of what happened prior to Master Chief and Cortana even entering the picture. This is the definitive Halo made by the people who created Halo.
When many think of the Halo franchise, it isn't so often that they think of Halo Reach, the last game that Bungie would make in the series it created before breaking away from Microsoft. Not only was the original Halo Combat Evolved highly influential with its controls and systems, it delivered the first true first-person shooter experience on console that could stand alongside those on PC of the day. Its influence can still be seen even today in other shooters, but it also launched a much loved and brilliant universe and the first Xbox console itself. Halo has become synonymous with Microsoft's hardware, with Bungie deciding to move on from the series and work on something new which would become Destiny. They left Xbox players and Halo fans with Halo Reach. But this one was different. It was a precursor or forerunner to the previous games, each of which were excellent and still are. But Halo Reach would have no Master Chief. The iconic Halo ring and Cortana would only be seen very late on in the game. We wouldn't be playing this larger-than-life super soldier that we had been in past games, but instead being a part of Noble Team. We would be stopping the Covenant alien threat from destroying the planet Reach. Bungie would create one of the best Halo campaigns in my view with their parting gift of Halo Reach. In this video, as part of a series of Halo videos, I look at why Halo Reach's campaign is brilliant while still having that incredible gameplay, universe and storytelling which the Halo games have always had. So let's travel to Reach in an attempt to stop the Covenant threat, but in doing so, experience one of Halo's strongest campaigns. It would have been easy for Bungie to simply move on to Halo 4 after their fantastic third installment, but that game would end up being made by 343 Industries in the years to come. But Bungie decided to go back before their Halo trilogy and have players explore the human-occupied planet of Reach. In doing so, we got to experience Halo before the Master Chief, but even though the game would differ to the previous ones, it still very much felt like a Halo game. So if Reach lacked many of what made fans flock to the series in droves, what does it offer up to be remembered so fondly? Apart from the absolutely amazing score that is part of the whole series, the implementation of the orchestral pieces in Reach is sublime, as they each add so much to the scenes they're a part of, and hits players with what Reach does so well, even better than other Halo games. And that's in its world, its characters, its story, and how it brings them all together to deliver a superb prequel that sets up what we already know of the Halo universe and what we've already played since 2001. The music so elegantly captures all of these pieces together, but it's also restrained when it needs to be, then also loud and intimidating when the action and combat takes over. It has the music that tugs on the heartstrings, but also has those that display warmth, especially when the focus is on the characters or on Reach itself. And this is where I go all man crush in saying that what Marty O'Donnell created with Michael Salvatore was nothing short of captivating. From the main theme song, cinematic pieces that bring the characters, story and amazing environments together, through to the music kicking in at certain times during the action. It's all classic Halo, just with a twist. The key reason to why Halo Reach holds such a special place for myself is because of the location in which it's set. Having recently replayed the game as part of the Master Chief Collection, this footage you're watching is from that. with all of the graphical upgrades which it has brought with it, which makes it a feast for the eyes. But that isn't what makes Reach so fantastic. It's in the vastness of the landscapes, the great cinematography, which allows these environments and locations to be put on display for Halo fans to see and enjoy it. From the epic vistas of the new Alexandria city skyline, especially when we see the devastation which has taken hold from the Covenant attacks, with buildings on fire and smoke rising up into the atmosphere, to being flown around in the Pelican, where we can see out far into the distance, seeing the rocky landscapes, rivers and oceans filling our view. We get to see locations at different times of day and night, and all of these elements come together to create something special. It allows the planet Reach to feel like a real place, with a real history and a human planet which basically has no future to look forward to. Players get to visit when the world is on the brink of collapse. It is the catalyst which allows the rest of the Halo games to be even more memorable and unforgettable, because we got to play through the very beginning of the Covenant threat. The planet Reach is just as important as all the other parts of the game, if not the most important, and Bungie drives this point home through the impressive camera work which pulls back and pans around to show it off, but then also gets the camera right up in the face of characters when needed, or showing those characters and their helplessness when we see them in the front of the devastation. With all of the devastation surrounding us, we get to see the danger that the Covenant are, but we need this destruction around us to understand why they are a threat. And when the invasion is at this level, it can only lead to the deaths of civilians and characters, which I'll get to soon. This is the reality of war which the human race has found itself in, and there is a sense of hopelessness which is founded, as this isn't a game that has a happy ending, and much of the tough guy bravado which we hear, these characters won't be getting out of this conflict. And yet, the times where we see the wildlife run and scamper away when we get close, it's just a small reminder that there is other life on this planet which Noble Team is also fighting on behalf of. And then this leads into the story itself and how it ties all these areas together and does it so successfully. I mentioned the variety in the environments, but along with these locations comes with it what actual events transpire as we are there and how they affect the characters and set players on the course to the rest of the events that transpire in the series. For any story to actually be considered good, then it must have certain elements and be structured in a way that allows players to understand what's happening, but most importantly, players need to care about what is occurring and the characters involved. Two areas which elevate a story into one that is memorable. Apart from being introduced to Reach itself, we are soon introduced to Catherine Halsey, who we know is the scientist behind the Spartan program we already know from the previous games, but she has this aura of leadership, intelligence, and understanding how dire the situation is, but also knowing more information than she is letting on. But she also becomes sort of a mother figure for our team. When many games show you their best content towards the beginning of the game, in order to capture the player's interest, Reach slowly builds. It's giving time in order to firstly get to know the characters, understanding the team dynamics, and realizing the depth of the world. We already have an idea how events will play out due to the other games and information contained in the extended universe, but the stakes are raised the further we go in the campaign, and when once that has been established, Reach starts taking things away from the player. If a player is to be gripped with the narrative, then there must be time spent in order to explain or show the situation that players are in. It isn't good enough to tell those players that the Covenant are attacking and how grand the threat is. That's not going to convey enough for Halo fans to delve deep and become attached to this story. Being a part of Noble Team made us feel like we weren't just a one-man army, because Bungie took the time and effort to have the supporting characters be distinct and different from each other. They weren't just copy and pasted side characters, easily forgotten and never cared for. We have the likes of Carter, Kat, George, Emil and June, and each is given varying amounts of screen time depending on their importance in the narrative. But each is also given a time to shine, or we remember who they are based upon their demise, where Reach starts taking things away. We have Emil, who meets his death after killing an elite with a shotgun, only then to be stabbed by another from behind who impales him with an energy sword. Before his death, he then kills the elite by stabbing him in the neck. It is a fitting end to Emil, who is a very rough, tough, and a gung-ho character who wants nothing more than to destroy and eradicate the Covenant at every opportunity. Or we have the intelligent tech expert of Kat, who suffers a fatal shot to the head by the Covenant as the team escapes from New Alexandria after evacuating survivors. She is intelligent but capable in combat too, but her death also shows once again the gravity of the situation. One wrong move and she was dead. We also have Carter, the heroic commander in charge of Noble Team, whose fatal wounds showed us he was never going to survive, but even though it's expected of a Spartan, his life ended with the heroic act of ramming the Scarab with his ship. A leader going down with it, if you will. That brings me to the death of George, a tough character who is resolute in knowing what his fate must be when staying behind when there are complications with the bomb aboard the Covenant corvette. So he sacrifices himself to stay behind and make sure the bomb goes off when it collides with the supercarrier. Before pushing you out of the ship to safety, he tells us that this is something he must do because Reach has given him so much already, and how he puts the fate of the population and his squad mates above his own well-being. His connection with the planet further enhances our own sense of why we should care for this place, considering it's also the first time we are seeing it. But by now, we've already seen various locations, understand what's happening, the dire situation we are in, and it was that light bulb moment for myself where I knew that this wasn't going to end well for our team. I'm not up on a pedestal now proclaiming that Halo Reach has the most amazing story or characters I've ever experienced in gaming, but they do work and work very well. The team doesn't live up to the likes of Mass Effect in terms of bringing them to life. Bungie did a great job in making these characters and the team fit within this slightly different Halo game. But as we progress, our team starts to lose members one by one until we ourselves perish in the final mission of Lone Wolf, when we stay behind to fight off the Covenant so the Pillar of Autumn can escape. Our character fights off the Horde closing in until we finally fall to the Sangheili warriors. Throughout the entire game, we see the destruction of the planet and the loss of team members. We have fallen, and so has Reach. It's a bittersweet moment, as on one hand, this isn't a Halo story which is going to end on a happy note with everyone that's been involved, but on the other hand, we have allowed the Pillar of Autumn to escape. We see it slowly heading towards the infamous Halo ring, and we know what lays ahead as we played through it already in Halo Combat Evolved. Halo Reach becomes a story of sacrifice, characters giving up their own lives so others may live on, but now facing the uncertain future of the Covenant war ahead. But Halo Reach also saw Bungie shake up the campaign as well when compared to previous Halo games, and what they delivered was a more tightly scripted, better structured narrative that flows more smoothly whilst going between levels that are quite different to each other, but also including different gameplay elements to keep things fresh. In classic Halo fashion, we have chapters such as On the Tip of the Spear, which sees players riding around in the Warthog or Covenant Ghost once again. We have Nightfall, where the level is set at night, and we have Exodus, where we are fighting through city buildings in an effort to rescue survivors. But then when we get to New Alexandria, where we are flying our Falcon to several rooftops, witnessing the devastation which has overtaken the city. And Bungie doesn't stop there either, as Noble 6 jumps into a rocket to be fired off into space, where we also get to pilot the Saber, a space vehicle during the Long Night of Solace mission. And Bungie made this small part of the game just as enjoyable as the rest, with tight, easy to learn controls, whilst giving the craft enough maneuverability and speed to make it a whole heap of fun to pilot. But even all of that wasn't enough, as Bungie also gives players jetpacks during certain missions. Halo is a vast universe of content and stories, from the games themselves to the extended universe. There is a lot to take in and a lot to appreciate, but Reach can also divide fans due to its departure from elements which were in that extended universe. Now, I haven't read any of the books, and so I judge the series upon what I've played, and the same goes for Reach. When I look at it objectively, only judging it on what Bungie delivered, it heavily succeeds in many areas, and easily stands alongside the other mainline Halo games. And considering I'm only looking at the campaign of Reach, anything that can at least meet, let alone exceed those other campaigns, must be something very special. But argument goes beyond just that too, with everyone having a different opinion, or even an opinion at all, when it comes to enemy design and changes throughout the Halo games, and which would continue when 343 got their hands on the series and will surely have changes once again with the forthcoming 6th game in the mainline series, Halo Infinite. From the grunts to the classic elites, their appearance can change from game to game along with the armor they wear, but even the sounds and speech which they make as well. Changes also extend to how health and shield regeneration works to previous Halo games, and there are also absences when it comes to certain grenade types or the dual wielding of weapons. But do these differences or changes bother me at all? Not really. The enemy or armor design or changes to mechanics gives Reach its own individuality when compared to the other games. It's still Halo, but it's Halo Reach. And just like the other games in the series, it has its own offerings, ones that some gamers and fans will love, and ones which other fans won't like at all, regardless of whether players can somewhat customize their armor as well. But between the levels and environments, Bungie gave Reach a large amount of variety, and where Halo fans could never get bored with it, as it is always throwing something new at the player, but delivering it alongside the interesting story, memorable cast of characters, but wrapping it all up in a sense of hopelessness and destruction that all ends by appealing to our Halo nostalgia. The last 2 points are key when it comes to why I believe Halo Reach is not only one of the best Halo campaigns, it's just a fantastic game in its own right. Halo always has fantastic gameplay and gunplay, but Bungie delivered something different here, and it works so damn well because it appeals to our love of previous Halo games, but also because the tone and seriousness is heightened as team members are killed off until we ourselves die and the planet we are trying to save eventually falls. We connect with the characters, the story, and with Reach, but it will ultimately fall. The death of Noble Team and the collapse of Reach is a fitting finale and way for Bungie to bow out of being the Halo developer on such a high note.